Hey guys, it's Raythe from Raythe Rain here, and I'm answering some of your questions from the April 2019 Ask Me Anything. Our first question comes from Rain. They say, I've been a member for a while, and when I first started, you had 7 stories updating twice a month. Now you're writing fewer stories, but with more chapters a month. Do you prefer having fewer stories on the go and getting to give us more of them, or are you hoping to eventually get back up to 7 ongoing stories? I actually intend to be going down. Yes, you heard me right. I really want to give every story 3 updates a month. So that would be, pretty much a month is 4 weeks long. And so that we work that in. However, for a time, we're going to be bringing in dark magic, and we're going to have that playing along with the Fell. So we'll have 5 stories ongoing. I don't want to do 7 stories again because I felt a bit too fractured with that, although it is a lot of fun, but we don't get to get very far in any of them. Now I can do mini arcs within the month for each story. And I think that works extraordinarily well. I haven't heard any complaints from anybody. I think it's because you get more of what you love. So that doesn't mean I'm not going to write those other stories I would have had going all together. They'll just be pushed down the line until we've finished one up, which will happen more quickly because, of course, they'll be updating 3 times a month. Rain has another question. They say, I seem to remember you've mentioned in the past that you enjoy video games. Which game or games are you playing at the moment? What consoles do you have? Have any video games ever inspired one of your stories? So I have a PlayStation 4, which I love. I used to have like an Xbox and a PlayStation, but really this generation, Xbox has fallen down. There are no games for that system that I absolutely have to have, like I did when they put out Morrowind on it, etc. So I'm really, the PlayStation 4 is just hands down beating Xbox like nobody's business. The games I'm playing right now are God of War. I am playing Skyrim VR. I am playing Vermintide, which is sort of fun. I wish it were more like Diablo, and I thought it was, but it really isn't. But it is still a lot of fun. And I'm also looking at playing Farpoint and a bunch of other VR games because I have gotten a VR system for Christmas. So the next thing is, have any video games ever inspired one of your stories? Absolutely. Jack from The Abyss is Jack from Mass Effect. I think people pointed that out and I couldn't help it. I loved her as a character. So our next question comes from Anime Sailor Moon. They ask, hi, will you be continuing with Drakon? As I would love to read more of what could happen next. When I put the final chapter of Drakon up, I used to have sort of like a sum up on all of the stories, telling you what I would do differently if I were to rewrite them or if I were to continue on and get your guys' ideas. But the truth is, I don't think I want to revisit Drakon. I know a lot of people have loved it, but I felt that I wanted to do more of a remix than anything else. And I don't know if people would be happy with that or not. But that's sort of my thought process. I'm not going away from dragons at all. I love dragon shifters. I love dragons. They are like the best thing ever. But will I go back and continue in that world with those characters? I don't think so, because I think people have a certain love for that. And I don't know if they would have a love for the remix. Although we've seen that the Fell far outshines the Earl King. But, in a lot of ways, what I, as a writer, might feel about a serial is not what you, as a reader, might feel. And I think that there's a lot to love in Drakon. Believe me, I love the first. I love all those guys. But I just feel like it's set where it is right now, and I want to write something fresh, but I do want to write more dragon shifters. So I would expect a whole new universe of dragon shifters if I were to go forward, but not with Drakon. But I'm so glad that you enjoy that. A little aside about Drakon, actually something that was really important. I replaced a Abyss chapter with that, and people were so mad at me at first until they read this thing. And one of the reasons that I did that was I had actually, this is sort of like probably TMI, but I'd gone into the doctor and I was awaiting a prognosis on something, and I was really in a bad spot, and I wanted to write this thing so desperately, and I had been waiting and waiting and waiting to write it. And when I was getting, waiting for that prognosis, I decided I had to write it. So I knew people were going to be angry, although they end up loving Drakon and they were like, write more Drakon, forget the abyss. But, it's fine. But that's why I really try not to do that. Obviously, if I have something on the calendar, that's what goes on the calendar. But that was a really sort of an aside. And don't worry, guys, I was fine as it turned out. But that's just sort of a little, touch point about Drakon. And why it has a special place in my heart, because it really sort of helped me through a hard time. And you guys helped me through a hard time while I was writing it and you were responding. Okay. Multizart asked me, how do you keep all the characters in check? As in, where do you keep your character sheets? In your head, OneNote, or do you use a program specifically for that? Oh my goodness, my friend. I do not have character sheets. That's not true. I think I did a couple for some world building ones in the later times. So I could keep people's eye color, hair color, background straight. Who are the names of their parents? How do you spell their names? But I don't do that for everything. I do it when I'm starting a new serial now, because I've been doing a lot of like fantasy, and fantasy really needs you to have everything set out. And I did that especially for Everdark too, because you guys can see that there's this whole world that you have to remember. And I normally though keep it in my head, and I normally keep it badly. So I started writing them out. I use Scrivener for that because that's been really useful. I really enjoy that. You can put pictures of the characters that remind, that you're thinking of, which is really useful when I go to Mathia to ask Mathia to create what the character looks like. I'd say something like this. So that's sort of how I do it. And so the next question from Multizart is, and how do you keep the intertwined stories and timelines to not tangle that much? I'm actually quite impressed by this. That is actually all in my head. And the truth is, I had a writing teacher that told me that gift from your right brain and gift from your left brain. And pretty much I am constantly in the back of my head, in my subconscious, especially thinking about the stories and how they intertwine. And I can honestly tell you, it's probably part of our human pattern recognition thing that happens. But I see how they all interconnect. I never planned for them to all interconnect at all. But then I see these opportunities and I've taken advantage of them. Or a member has said, wouldn't it be cool if? And those are the words that just get me like all excited. So honestly, this has all been something that my brain is doing without me. So it pretty much just happens. How do you write? As in, what do you do to write? And is it something you learned or something you just do? They say that they're dyslexic and have a hint of dysgraphia. I don't know how to say that. I apologize. I really have problems with putting my thoughts on paper, so to speak. Do you have any tips on writing? Well, I would think if you have these issues with dyslexia and dysgraphia, that honestly, you should probably get some kind of voice software like Dragon Naturally Speaking and actually speak out your stories rather than typing them. And you can close your eyes and you can sort of like go for that first draft and then go back in and then you can tighten it up. And I think that would actually be something that's useful for a lot of new writers. The blank page is daunting. And you have this idea that when you write something, it has to be perfect. And that's not how this actually goes. You really have to unlock what I call flow. A lot of people call it. And once you're in flow, you're just writing on this level. You're telling the story on this level that is better than any edited piece can ever be, because this is where the heart and soul of the story comes in. So I really recommend that people use voice software. I did, and I loved it. And then they stopped doing it for Dragon for Mac. And I was really angry about that. And I haven't really been able to do it since, but I've actually, because I've been doing this for so long, I really can get in flow with my fingers on the keyboard. I often recommend that you do also things in sprints. You set a timer, for example, for 10 minutes. You can do anything, even something unpleasant for 10 minutes, right? So you don't get to look at the internet, check your email, scratch your nose. You just have to write for 10 minutes and then you stop. That really helps me. Another thing that really helps me is honestly to put on music. Often stuff like the ambient channel on YouTube, and I just sort of zone out. Or I'll put on something like the fake fireplace, or the one where it's just, there's rain, where it's really just background noise so you can get into that flow state and be focused. I can honestly tell you that there are chapters that have taken me 10 hours that could have taken me like 4 or 5 if I had honestly forced myself to, not look at the internet, not look at television, and gone into flow. So that's sort of what I would tell you to do. You need to break this idea that it has to be perfect, and you just need to keep move going forward. Okay. So iPod Pixie says, not really a question, more of a request. Can we have the mares back in some fashion, please, Raythe? And White Leopard seconds that motion, saying Cetus and Zed promise to be a potentially amazing story. I actually have an idea for another story in that world. It's more of a limited story, but I actually love that world very much. I do not know if Cetus and Zed would be in it. It's more limited. I think that, but then I say that and then it becomes some kind of massive story. I will say that, it's really funny because a lot of people are they love when you add to the world, but then there's always that risk that somebody feels I'm taking away from the story that they've already come to love. But I do think that I'm going to tell another story in that universe. So Sterling Pond says, I've been away from the site for almost half a year now, and I just came back to check things out after I got an email. I noticed the schedule has changed a lot. And some of the stories not updating more, like The Fell. No, that's not true, my friend. That is not true. The Fell is only a hiatus until we finished Sanctuary 2. But he or she may not be aware of that because I don't know if they've actually signed up again. If so, I hope it's welcome back, and I hope you do check things out. Anything that's not on the schedule other than The Fell means that it has finished. So you should look in the completed archive in the library, and you will find all your favorite stories finished there. So The Fell, though, is a special. I'm assuming that they didn't look because there's a note at the end of The Fell that explains what's happening. So I imagine that they're not a member right now, so they didn't check that out. But yeah, don't worry. All stories get finished. Keith writes, any idea when we'll be able to buy prints from the gallery or any other goodies? And then Ebiglue, I'm saying that wrong, cough, plushies, cough. And then Keith says, oh gosh, yes, plushies. We are actually having the total store redone. When we looked at this gallery plugin, we thought that it could be hooked up to a fulfillment place, because God knows I don't have a color printer like that could give quality artistic quality prints. It required you to have that. So we have the gallery just for you guys to enjoy, but actually the shop is going to be freaking awesome. Not only are we going to have the prints, we're going to have hoodies, and we're going to have t-shirts, and we're going to have keychains, and we're going to have mugs. Right now, we actually did look at trying to get plushies, and they have to be made individually. And I'm going to still look for that, but maybe we'll do something you have to sort of money in advance type thing where you pre-order them and then we buy a slew of them and we'll see what we can do. But I don't know. I don't know yet. But when you see the new shop that Sylvia Frost is designing, you will be blown away. She is just doing a brilliant job. She's the one who designed this site. And so we're going to have things awesomely done. And just so you know, we're going to start small, and we're going to ask you guys what you would like to purchase. Cause it's pointless to have stuff on there that you don't want. But truthfully, I know I'm going to put a lot of stuff on there that I want. I've already planned my outfits. It's Raythe Rain all the time. So we're going to have really, really cool art, really cool graphics. This will be stuff that you would like to wear. So it's not going to be just stuff that's Raythe Rain blazing my name everywhere. No, it's going to be cool. It might be stuff that only you know what it means. For example, if we had a Dunhaven sweatshirt, I had this great design from Mathia. It's Dunhaven School for the Gifted. Who knows but you what that really is, which is the witch school. So it's going to be some stuff are you in the know? But we are definitely going to have that. And I know we want the plushies. By the way, if any one of you knows of someone who can do this, let us know. Or if you can do it, if you're just some kind of skilled Etsyr that we just don't know about, please let us know, because I would rather give it to one of you to do this work if it can be done. Jessica W. 35G. Can I volunteer to help with editing as I read these incredible stories? There is literally, we have had in the FAQ from almost the first year we were out, an explanation that the stories are not edited. The serials are not edited, that it simply is impossible to do. You do realize that I publish literally the moment I am done with the chapter. So I will have gone through it one or two times, which God knows leaves a ton of stuff in, but that's just how it is. You're reading what you think is supposed to be there before it goes up. There are no chapters that are waiting to be posted. I am not hoarding material that I'm not sharing with you. When you see something posted at 1:57 in the morning, that means that I just finished writing it. And that means I'm going to be very tired the next day at work. So there is literally no time for an editor to go through it, because even if they were to get it and go through it, and they would take an hour, let's say they would take an hour at most, and then they would get back to me, and then I would have to adjust everything on the site. Well, if it's at 1:57, I'm done. That's 2:57 when they're done. And then that would be 3:57 when it's actually up. No, I can't do that. And it's not worth it. I mean, I know that there are people who are like, oh, this would be so much better if like the prose was like really smooth. And, the truth is we read for story. Yes, I've read many authors whose prose just makes me want to die in happiness. But I don't continue a story or care about a story because of the prose. That's like almost like icing on the cake. Of course, I want to make the stories as good as possible. And I take my time in terms of like phrasing and everything like that. But typos and stuff, it's just going to be there. It's just always going to be there. And no amount of wishing it were different, like I often do, even using Grammarly didn't work at all. And matter of fact, it's really funny because I used Grammarly and it missed the most important things, which were wrong words and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, my point is that you either get the chapters you want. We could go down to one chapter a week and then it could be edited for you, or we could go with what we've got, and which is what we're going to do, because that's what we've been doing for a decade. I would love to provide you with completely clean prose, but that's not even true of the novels, which are gone over by multiple people multiple times. Lasharoo asks, aw, what a cute name. Do you ever hear a song and it reminds you of one of your characters or even an event? I find that listening to music can help me get to understand my characters more. Have you ever done this? I haven't done it where I feel like I know them better than I would normally know them, but I know that there are definitely songs and even artists that remind me of the characters very much. One of them, I'll give you an example. It is the song, and I Relax My Beloved by Alex Clare. And that reminds me of Emery's. So it is Relax My Beloved, Alex Clare. So if you get a chance, look it up and you will understand why it reminds me of Emery's so much. His voice is so sexy and just so droll, and it's just Emery's. It's just Emery's to me. And just what he's saying is just, awesome. But definitely, and I do find that if I'm listening to music, I've got to be careful because music can really inspire the story. You could just be like, and it can make it seem like, suddenly you're doing this fast beat stuff and it's suddenly like, all right, we're going into war now. All of a sudden, this is supposed to be a love chapter. Oh no. So yes. So White Leopard asked, are you currently having many completely new world ideas, or do you keep thinking of add-ons to already existing worlds? How do you balance those two? And that's really good questions. And yes, I'm having both totally new ideas and I have other ideas that I continue to want to do. And some where I'm translating ideas from an existing world into a new one, just so I'm not going to be hamstrung by situations in that past world, so that I can sort of redo and rethink. And how do I balance them? Well, I really am trying not to have anything, not only to have like one sequel running at any given time. And the reason for that is, you guys know that we live or die based on how many members we have. And a sequel is not going to sell someone on the site because they can't understand what's going on, and we keep that locked. And a lot of people come for the ongoing serials. This always surprised me. I kept telling Kat, oh, we have to tout the library and the fact that there are 24, completed serials and blah, 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 blah. And she was like, okay. And then we realized that people come for the updating ones because I think that's more exciting because, and I find it more exciting because those are the ones that are living and growing and that you can be a part of. You'll read the other ones and of course, hopefully enjoy them and everything like that. But really people do like the updating ones. I also think that of course the updating ones are my best work because I'm getting better every single day. And I get all of your comments and I think about things and, I keep writing and we keep going. I mean, I'm so glad when somebody tells me that they love something from my beginning days because to me, it's just like, oh, I can tell a story so much better now. Notice I do not say I write so much better now. It's I can tell a story better now. So yes. And how we balance them. So to go back to that is really to have only one. We don't have that right now, but that's what I'm going for. Only one sequel, but mostly fresh worlds. And I'm trying to do it so you'll have like a high fantasy world. You will have a shifter story. You will have some kind of sci-fi story. And we will have a vampire story. And so we can really get people's different tastes so you won't get bored. Vera Lemur asks, I love the merman stories so much, but I find it a bit hard to categorize them with the other shifter type stories. Yeah, we did too, actually. You're quite right. First, only the hybrids shift, and even then only once, where Fallon and Jude are swapping back and forth fairly regularly. I wonder if you consider making an Eldritch tag to better categorize the Mers, since they are so completely entwined with the Guardian Cthulhu. Oh, well, we considered something like this, actually. But the truth is that nobody would know what the Eldritch tag meant. And what symbol would one use for the Eldritch tag? I suppose we could do a little Cthulhu thing, which would be sort of cute. It's a good question. It's a good comment. It's a true thing where the Mers do not completely really fit in with shifters at all. But I think it's the best course. And we didn't want to make a billion different categories. We really wanted them to be, the main ones, and then you could search deeper in. And since you already know that the Mers are there, for you just know to go to shifters. So that's why we do it. If you think maybe that it would be something a new person who would only be signing up for mermen, that it would be a selling point, let me know. But otherwise, for right now, I'm trying to do this so that it was really, that the tags were correct, but also that there weren't 5 million of them. Deltos asks, okay, so Everdark brought me to your site, and since then I have been inhaling most everything that you've written while waiting for the updates. Yay, I'm so glad. I fell into the Winter Haven Country Club, then went to Sanctuary 1 and 2, and then did a reverse to Pact 1 and 2. My God, man, you really went all over the place. Then Vampires Club, which is where my question originates. Oh, Kat already told me this would be a problem, but I'm curious what your question is. So far, I've managed to connect the dots between locations and active and passive, cursed characters in and around Winter Haven. I have faves, Emery's, Unnamed One, and of course, the Nomad. I just enjoy the dry sense of humor that they have. I'm getting there. So of course, when reading Vampires Club and the Nomad character appeared, I was thrilled, a more fancy repartee and banter. And I expect to see Demetrius, but no, I got Constantine. Finally, the question. How many fledglings does the Nomad have? I thought just 2. Demetrius and Alex. Where does this other fledgling from Vampire Club fit into WHCC? Does the Nomad have a secret illegitimate fledgling he's hiding? Okay, that's my question. Or is the answer in the fell, which I haven't gotten to yet? Laugh out loud. No, Kat told me this would be a problem. Vampires Club is not connected to the Winter Haven universe. I believe I mentioned that before I posted the first one to members and explained what this was about. But if you were not there at that time, or you didn't happen to read that email or that blog post or whatever the heck I put it in, you would not know. She told me, you shouldn't call this character the Nomad. You shouldn't make him and I'm like, guess what? I am, because it is based on the Nomad. The Vampires Club is a very, very, very light remix of Sanctuary and Crimson. Very very, very light remix of those two. The Nomad is the same and different. I think the Nomad in Vampire's Club is much darker, which you probably will have noticed a little bit. But the worlds are actually not connected. I just took that character because I love him. Literally, I love him, and I could not let him go. And I knew after Sanctuary 2, he would not be playing any large role in any stories, and I just couldn't bear that, and I wanted to really do this again. I wanted to write another vampire story, and I wanted to riff off of ideas that I'd had in Sanctuary that I don't think I really was able to make good on, and also more on the witches from Crimson. That story got away from me a little bit and got broader than I wanted and yet narrower than it should have been. It was sort of hard to explain. That happens. So no, you don't have to try to force the Vampire's Club into any of this. Don't. Just read it as like almost as if there's Easter eggs in the Vampire's Club series for you guys who've read my other work. But there's not a secret other, illegitimate fledgling or anything like that. Constantine is a remix of Demetrius. Kat told me I shouldn't do it, but I just couldn't help myself. And now she gets to laugh at me because this question came. And I think what I'm going to do is anytime another Vampires Club comes up on the site where you guys will get Vampires Club 3 next, I'll put that note to just let people know each time. So you won't be like, what the hell's going on here? So anyway, these are all the questions that I've gotten so far. I'm sure you guys probably can think of more. I cannot wait to hear them and to answer them. As always, any questions you have, please feel free to reach out to me as well by email. We have a Facebook page. I do check it a lot, but for some reason I miss stuff. So emails work. We've got a lot of cool and exciting things coming up that I just cannot wait to share with you. Thank you guys. I really appreciate it. You don't know how much we appreciate and love you all. Take care and talk to you soon.
I like dragons.